everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Svaty with K-State Research and Extension, and today we are going to be talking about gluten. Gluten is on a lot of people's minds. It's kind of been in the news a lot, and there might be a lot of people who aren't really sure what gluten is. So today we're going to talk about what gluten is and its role in food, distinguish common and lesser known sources of gluten in the diet, identify potential health effects related to gluten in the diet, and understand reasons behind current gluten-free diet trends, and recognize skills needed and products available supporting gluten-free living. So first, we'll talk about what gluten is. Gluten is the protein found in wheat, rye, and barley, and some related grains. It provides the elastic, chewy properties in breads. Gluten allows for dough to be able to stretch but not break. And the amount of gluten in flours varies on how sturdy products need to be, such as pasta and pastries, for example. So, why would individuals need to avoid gluten? There are 3 conditions out there that would make an individual want to avoid gluten in their diets. There's celiac disease, dermatitis herpetiformis, and non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So today we're going to discuss these all separately. So celiac disease is formally called celiac sprue, and it affects 1% of the United States population, which is about 3 million people. It's an autoimmune disorder, and it may be passed along in families. Damages of the villi of the small intestine, which decrease absorption of nutrients, and symptoms vary from patient to patient. And this celiac disease is treated with a gluten-free diet. So right here in this picture, it shows some of the damage that's happening in the small intestine. When a person with celiac disease eats gluten-containing foods, their immune response is to destroy the tiny hair-like structures called villi in the small intestine. And most nutrients are absorbed in our small intestine, and damage interferes with absorption of nutrients and increases the risk for diseases like bone disease, anemia, and intestinal cancer. Malnutrition will most likely occur due to the lack of nutrient absorption, particularly vitamin B, such as B6, B12, and folate, iron, vitamin D, K, and calcium. Going to a doctor and a registered dietitian will assist in finding the right diet for you. So dermatitis herpetiformis affects a person internally in the gut and outwardly. In the picture, it shows what a skin rash could look like. And it is a type of celiac disease, and it's diagnosed through skin biopsies and blood tests. This is treated also with a gluten-free diet. And the next condition is non-celiac gluten sensitivity, or also for short, NCGS. This differs from celiac disease because it is not an allergy or autoimmune disorder. People with NCGS may have GI symptoms similar to people with celiac disease, including diarrhea, constipation, bloating, and excess gas. Though symptoms can vary widely from person to person again, research continues on this condition because much of it is unknown. Eating certain carbs as well as other parts of wheat besides gluten may also result in symptoms, so some people with this diagnosis may avoid additional foods and ingredients beyond gluten. Now, some of you might have heard about wheat allergy. So wheat allergy is different from celiac and NCGS. Exposure brings about almost immediate symptoms from wheat components. Symptoms are respiratory, which could include nasal congestion, wheezing, and watering eyes, but could escalate to anaphylactic shock. In short, wheat allergy and gluten intolerance are 2 completely different problems with similar but not identical treatments. So when we come back, we will discuss what a gluten-free diet consists of.
Western Auction and Real Estate LLC is ready to travel to you. Their team includes auctioneers and real estate specialists that will exceed your expectations. They offer experience in agriculture real estate, commercial and residential sales, and farm equipment auctions. Plus, they conveniently travel to your location. And it doesn't stop there. Visit westernauctionandrealestate.com today to shop their online equipment auctions too. For professionalism from concept to completion, it's Western Auction and Real Estate.
T-Max Trucking, LLC delivers service you can depend on and serves all of Northwest Kansas. They have shale pits located from Logan to Waukene that provide convenient access to your location. T-Max Trucking specializes in road maintenance, and they have a dozer, dump truck, backhoe, and grader to get the job done right. Their locally based business was established in 2012 and is both licensed and insured. Let T-Max Trucking, LLC deliver service you can depend on.
Make moving and storing your home or business easy with storage solutions of Hayes and Victoria. With 2 facilities, they can store anything from antiques to automobiles and everything in between. Interior units for items needing special care. Drive-up units of all sizes, perfect for home or business. And outside storage for trucks, boats, and RVs. As an authorized U-Haul dealer, they have everything for your next move, across town or across the country. Storage solutions of Hayes and Victoria, making moving and storing easy.
Hi, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. So what is a gluten-free diet? People with celiac disease, dermatitis herpetiformis, and NCGS should follow a lifelong gluten-free diet that strictly avoids eating the protein from wheat, rye, and barley. And we really suggest it being a lifelong gluten-free diet because sometimes we might not show the symptoms like outwardly with dermatitis herpetiformis, but inwardly it still is damaging the villi. So that's why we encourage a lifelong gluten-free diet if you do have one of these conditions. In 2013, the US FDA published a regulation defining what gluten-free was. Gluten-free is defined as food containing less than 20 parts per million of gluten. And when we say gluten-free, this also covers if there are claims on packages that say no gluten, free of gluten, without gluten. And all of these must meet the gluten-free definition of less than 20 parts per million. So what is 20 parts per million? The 20 parts per million is about 2 pieces of salt on a slice of bread. So when you think about that, that's really not that much. 2 little pieces of salt on a piece of bread. This level is at the low limit that gluten can be detected in foods and is consistent with the standards set by countries and international groups that establish food safety standards. So no matter what the label claims, no gluten, free of gluten, or without gluten, or gluten-free, it has to be less than that 20 parts per million. So how does a gluten-free diet help if you have one of those 3 conditions? It allows the intestine to heal back. So those villi, it helps them to heal, and it will improve GI symptoms. So if you have any GI symptoms that aren't so great, those will improve once you get set on a gluten-free diet. It may help prevent conditions from possibly being caused by long-term untreated celiac. So if you go for a long time without being treated for celiac disease and going on to a gluten-free diet, you could possibly have lymphoma or osteoporosis because that villi is not able to absorb the nutrients as it should. So gluten versus gluten-free. In this slide, you'll see that there are a lot of grains and thickeners that are gluten and gluten-free. So there are options of, there's a lot of flours and thickeners that are not gluten containing. There's corn, rice, tapioca, buckwheat, millet, there's quinoa, and chickpea. There are many options that you have on that list if you do have a gluten intolerance. And oats, we get a lot of question on oats because oats are technically gluten-free, but they're often processed in the same factories that products have gluten in them. So if you have one of those 3 conditions that you can't eat gluten, you need to make sure that you buy oats that say gluten-free on them. So why the gluten-free trend? Many celebrities have claimed weight loss or feeling better when they go gluten-free. But the truth is, many foods that contain gluten also contain many essential vitamins and nutrients that you could be missing out on if you go gluten-free without needing to go gluten-free. Gluten-free foods are oftentimes much more expensive than gluten-containing counterparts also. The gluten-free diet's popularity continues to explode. As early as 2008, 15 to 25% of consumers wanted gluten-free foods. And marketing researchers expect that number to just keep going up. Now, if you look anywhere in your grocery store, you'll notice that there are a lot more options for gluten-free, all sorts of gluten-free foods out there that were not there in the past. And even in small town markets, there's a lot more gluten-free options available. So next time you look in the grocery store, be sure to look at those gluten-free options. And one main point that we want to make is that there are no published scientific research articles that support the idea of weight loss as a result of gluten-free diet in people without celiac disease or gluten sensitivity. So how can I tell if gluten-free is for me? The main thing you need to do is talk with your healthcare provider about your symptoms before you take gluten out of your diet. The diagnosis of celiac disease is based on blood tests and a biopsy of the small intestine. It's very important to test before starting a gluten-free diet so the doctor can tell before you have switched. So when we come back, we're going to discuss where to start your gluten-free diet journey and how to read labels to ensure you're purchasing items that are actually gluten-free to make sure that you stay healthy.
What a girl wants in her home kitchen. Ease of use, flexibility, fun, the latest kitchen design, Frigidaire Professional Real Stainless Steel for fewer finger smudges, a French door refrigerator, convection cooking, a quiet dishwasher. Have the staff at Genuine Appliance in Hayes demonstrate new Frigidaire Professional appliances to find what you want. Genuine Appliance at 1224 East 27th in Hayes. Everything a girl wants.
Hi?
We're looking for insurance.
Oh, let's see who's free.
When insurance agents work for only one company, their options are simply limited. But a trusted choice independent agent is free to shop many companies for a better deal. Free to do what's right for you.
Let us shop for you. Contact Rogers & Associate to learn more.
Your home's exterior is the best defense against harsh weather conditions. With insulated vinyl siding, energy-efficient windows, spray foam insulation, and metal roofing from AquaShield Roofing and Construction, you can protect your home from howling winds and ice-cold temperatures. Don't let Mother Nature interfere with the comfort of your home. Call or visit us online today for a free estimate. AquaShield Roofing and Construction. Our team is dedicated to your complete satisfaction.
Hi, welcome back to Gluten in Your Gut's Good Health. We are going to now talk about where do we start when we find out that we have a family member or that we ourselves need to follow a gluten-free diet. Let me just tell you now that it is possible to eat gluten-free. And really, the best advice is kind of just stick with the basics. For example, if you want to cook a meal of roast beef, grilled chicken, mashed potato or steamed potato, salad, and fruit, that is a perfectly good, healthy, nutritious, gluten-free meal. Now, when you start to add the condiments and the special sauces, those could contain gluten. And when we add more food rather than just the basics, that's when we need to really get good with our label reading skills. If you don't label read now, I encourage you to definitely begin if you do have a loved one or if you yourself need to eat a gluten-free diet. So now, label reading is definitely key with this. Here's an ingredient panel from a nutrition facts label. Is there anything here that someone wishing to avoid gluten should note on this panel? I'll give you a minute to look at it there. Right there at the bottom, we have wheat starch down at the very last ingredient there. Wheat starch does not contain gluten, so this ingredient is not an issue for a person with celiac disease or NCGS. So that was a little tricky there, but we'll look at another. Here is another example. And in this, there are 2 ingredients to avoid in this food. Can you see where they are? We have whole grain wheat flour, malted barley flour, salt, dried yeast, and vitamins and minerals. Well, there is whole grain wheat flour, so wheat, and malted barley flour. So both of those contain gluten. So if you have a gluten intolerance, you should not eat this food item. So what do you look for on those packages? The gluten-free symbol can look differently in a lot of packages. It could have just gluten-free, without gluten, and no gluten, like what we had talked about before in the beginning of the program. The gluten-free symbol can look differently, as you can see on the packages that I have here on this slide. Some labels may show wheat on the ingredients, but this is allowed if the final product comes out to be less than that 20 parts per million or less of gluten. So the less than 2 pieces of salt on a piece of bread. So you'll just have to become real savvy on looking for the gluten-free on all of your packages. You'll also want to check labels each time you shop, even on familiar foods and familiar brands that you might always have gotten. For example, one spaghetti sauce might not contain gluten, but if they change the recipe up, they might have gluten in it the next time. So really, just become a label reader on all of the foods that you purchase at the grocery store to ensure that you are going to stay safe. And gluten might even be in unexpected places such as cosmetics or in your pills. So if you take prescriptions, you should talk to your doctor or pharmacist about medications to ensure that they are also gluten-free. So how do I manage gluten-free eating away from home? The best thing to do is to plan ahead. Check restaurants for gluten-free options before you arrive. Most restaurants now have their menus available online, so you can look and see what you want to purchase when you get there. You let your host and let your waiter or waitress know of your diet restrictions. They will know, or the owner of the restaurant will know what to do for you to keep you safe and what foods are available for you to eat. When you eat out at restaurants, you might not think of this, but consider the possibility of cross-contamination. Don't be afraid to ask your server if your corn tortilla chips are fried in the same fryer that flour tortilla chips are on, or if your grilled chicken is grilled on the same grill that a hamburger bun is on. You might not think of that, but that could lead to cross-contamination and get gluten into your gluten-free meal. And if you go to somebody else's house, tell them that you are living gluten-free and talk to them about it, because a lot of people have misconceptions about it, and you can tell them the truth about it. One way to really show them that, hey, gluten-free food is not all bad, you can bring a gluten-free dish to the party or to somebody's house for them to enjoy. So if you are looking for more information on celiac disease, dermatitis herpetiformis, or non-celiac gluten, then there are a lot of reputable sources out there that you can use for more information. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics at eatright.org is a great place for more information. Celiac Now and Celiac Disease Foundation. And if you are techie, there's a lot of apps out there that you can just go on your phone and download it and look at the ratings of other people who have downloaded that app, and you can find out if it's a good app for you or not. But those apps are great they can tell you anywhere from items to choose at restaurants or where restaurants are that cater to gluten-free items. So I hope that you have all enjoyed Gluten in Your Gut's Good Health and that it can benefit you or a loved one who has one of those conditions that does not let them eat gluten-free foods. So thanks for joining us today for Gluten in Your Gut's Good Health.